Hi, everybody. Good morning. Wednesday, May 6th, 2020. So this is LBOT, which is a little bit of this, a little bit of that. We're going to be doing all kinds of stuff. So here we're doing a little test fitting of the G3X system, because we're very happy with that. I think I had some spare stock, and I was trying to make a new version of the panel, maybe. Anyway. So yeah, we're getting into a little bit of everything, and that's pretty much how it is when you get towards the end. I mean, sure, you go out and work for 6 hours. You're not just working on chapter 38. I mean, you might, but for me, I wind up going up all over the place. All right, so here's an important step. So by the time so this video was about the middle of March, right? So I think about this time is when all of the crap started going down, and I thought, you know what? I'm just going to start making decisions. So here we're starting off by actually connecting the return line. So there you see I have drilled a hole into the firewall for the return fuel line. And I'm just enlarging that with a step bit. I had to order some new AN parts for the fit. There we go. You can see me putting it in. And of course the nuts. So I wound up having to fashion an extra washer out of 63 thousandths. Actually, no, I'm sorry, not 63 thousandths. I think it was 128, so it was 1/8 inch thick. You can see that piece of metal that I'm working on right there. That was a spare piece of stock that came from the kit with no particular use in mind. And by the way, thank you, Vans, for just shoving random pieces of aluminum into my kit. Of course, it also just scares me. God knows what it is I'm actually missing. It's kind of like when you put a kit together and you're like, huh, I still have 15 spare parts. Look, I've got bins full of spare stuff, and I'm like, I never used any of this. When am I supposed to be using this? And I go back through the plans, and I can't find mention of them. So, also thank you, Vance, for sending me spare parts for who knows what. Okay, now that line is connected, I'm jumping over now to the chapter that deals with the landing gear. So I'm not actually putting the landing gear on. That's many things in the future. But I will be at least putting the brackets on that hold the main landing gear in place. But before that, we're going through with thread sealant, not sealant. So this is thread detector, right? Anytime that you've got anything that's screwed on in place that doesn't have a cotter pin, you want to have some thread detector. Basically, it's a extremely toxic paste that you put across nuts that are, onto bolts. And where bolts on the opposite side of that are attached to whatever piece of metal they are. You put a little line across, and that will basically tell you if, for some chance, that bolt becomes loose and it breaks. When I say breaks, I mean the thread breaks. You'll be able to see that it has, and that will, alert you. Of course, the only time I'm seeing 99% of these things are going to be during condition inspections at the end of the year. And here I am tightening up the fuel line brackets. So yeah, look, here's the thing about building an airplane. It's a lot of different subsystems, and you'll find yourself putting stuff in and be like, yeah, I forgot to put blah 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 in, or I forgot to tighten this or that. Double check everything. Thankfully, Vans is a very sophisticated yet simply designed plane, right? So it's not really hard to just go through and check everything. One thing I really love about it, right? Okay, so when we're talking about putting in the landing gear brackets, there's going to be, you can see there's a spacer that goes in between the wing boxes for one of the big bolts. There's basically 3 big bolts that go across and then a few small bolts that go down. And that's for just one small bracket that you're going to put on both sides. I will just tell you, give you some advice now, get them all in before you start torquing anything. Because if you start torquing that thing down, and then you try to put in another bolt next to it, you might not be able to get it to fit, because it might be like, 1 or 2 mils off. because there's a total of 6 bolts here, and I think it took me an hour and a half to do one side for 6 bolts. Right, they're not easy to get to, and especially having to put that spacer in between. You saw me just hammering away at it. It took like 3 to 4 minutes just to get it lined up, because I'm scared to death of it cracking. So anyway, in the next video, we're going to be back to electronics. So see you soon.